before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me, vessels of gold.
All praise to the Most High. Told Rabbi Yahusha.
Ready
Told
to
Rabbi Father.
ascend
Told
to
Rabbi
my
Most High for everything that you do for us every day. You are wonderful and worthy to be praised. Oh, Yahuwah, Alua of Yisrael. Oh, Yahuwah, how excellent is your name across the earth, Father. Told Rabbi so much, O Most High. Oh, Yahuwah, for another day, Yahuwah, another prep day, Father. Told Rabbi, O Most High, for we are gracious, O Most High, gracious to you, Father. Gracious, O Most High, for the covenant that you made with our ancestors, Father. Oh, Yahuwah, Alua of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Blessings, glory, and honor be to your holy name. Yahuwah, Alua of Yisrael. You are King of the universe, Melech HaOlam. And there's no one like you, Father, for you are our strength. You are our everything, Father. You are our foundation. You are our rock. You are our ever-present help in trouble. You are a strong tower. You are a stronghold for the righteous, a refuge for the righteous, a refuge, oh, Yahuwah, for the oppressed. Toda Rabbah, Yahusha. Toda Rabbah, a father to the fatherless. Oh, Yahusha, how excellent is your name across the earth. Toda Rabbah, Father, for another prep day. Toda Rabbah, Father, O Most High, for blessing us, O Yahusha, to be in the land of the living, Father. Oh, Yahuwah, there's so many things that are going on the Yeretz, Father. There's so many things that are taking place in the Shamaim, Father. A shift has happened. A shift in the Shamaim. A shift on the Yeretz. A shift in the mindsets. A shift in the mindsets. Toda Rabbah, Yahusha, for you are through and your mercy endureth forever. You are my everything, Father. You alone are Yahuwah. You alone are Yahuwah. And we todah you, Father. Yahuwah, we pray in the name of Yahusha. Oh, Most High, we pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, Melech Yisrael, Ben Dawid, Kohen HaGadol in the Shamaim, in the order of Melchizedek. Oh, Yahusha HaMashiach, the high priest in the heavens in the order of Melchizedek. Toda Rabbah, Father. Toda Rabbah, Father. We love you, we honor you, we extol you, we esteem you, we worship you, Father. There's no one like you, Abba. Yahuwah, I pray that you Baruch, Father, this discussion, Baruch this teaching, Father. Oh, that it may drop down like rain on fertile soil, Father. Yahuwah, how wonderful you are. How you have restored us and refreshed us. How you are turning over the captivity of Yisrael. How you are making us, O Most High, to flourish and to move forward, Father. How you are making us to move forward, O Most High. Yahuwah, may we move forward. Yahuwah, may we move forward and not look back, Father. Oh, for you are judging the nations. You are judging the heathen for the things that they have done on the arrest that they have done to your Kodesh people, Father. Oh, Yahuwah, Alu of Israel, how excellent is your name across the arrest. Oh, Father, the nations will worship you. The nations, every knee will tongue and every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Yahuwah and Yahusha is Adonai. That Yahuwah is Alua, Yahusha is Adonai. Father, I pray in the name of Yahusha that you bless every word that comes out on my side in this teaching. That it be your words and not mine, Father. That it be your words, Ab Yahusha. Speak with my mouth, see with my eyes, and move with my body, Ab Yahusha. Oh, Father, I pray that you guide every comment, Father. Oh, Father, that it be according to your will, O Most High. Yahuwah, Toda Rabbah, Father, that we ask that it shall be given. Oh, Father, we ask in the name of Yahusha that you Baruch this discussion. That you bless, Father, bless this teaching, Father. That it may drop down like rain on fertile soil. That it may bring forth fruit, Father, fruit that it may bring forth beautiful fruit, sweet to the taste, Father, and pleasing to the sight, O Ab Yahusha. Oh, Father, access. You have given us access, Father. Access to you, Father, on a new level, more than ever before, and we thank you for this, Father. May we not take this for granted, Abba. May we not take this for granted, the great things you have bestowed upon your people. Oh, Yahuwah. Oh, Yahuwah, you are making all things new. You are making all things new. Father, I pray that you Baruch everyone on Most High who are on here listening, Father. I pray that you Baruch them who are called, those who are called by your name, that you Baruch them, Father, that they may follow you and serve you all the days of their lives, Abba. Oh, Most High, that they may receive, oh, Most High, receive, oh, Yahusha, these words, Father. That they receive these words, Father, like as if rain dropping down on fertile soil. Oh, Yahuwah. Elu of Yisrael, how excellent is your name across the earth. Told our Rabbi, Father, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Spoken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, spoken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels,
Hallelujah.
broken before me, vessels of gold.
All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Hallelujah. All praise to Yahuwah. Shalom, shalom, everybody. Shalom, shalom. This is your Musha Asaph ben Yisrael. I'm coming out of the Austin Assembly. I want to give eternal honors. Oh, hold on. There we go. I want to give an eternal honors to Yahuwah and Yahusha. I want to give an eternal honors to Yahuwah and Yahusha. I want to give an infinite honors to Melech Musha, Melech Yahusha. Double honors to Malka Kayel and Malka Yada. Double honors to Hagabir Malaka. To Ros Zaken Yithro, Ros Ya'azaken Yeshayahu. I want to give double honors, y'all, to make sure I'm not forgetting it. Oh yeah, to the Musha Malakaya Makiyala Hagabir Malaka. I want to give a double honors to the Mushalim of the assemblies. Double honors to the Mushala Ot of the assemblies. Honors to all of the second tier leadership. And all the Imayot and the Zaken. Hallelujah. All praises to Yahuwah and Yahusha. Hallelujah. All praises to the Most High. Told our Rabbi. All praises to Yahuwah. All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Y'all, this is another prep day discussion. This is a through way to just kind of get into the scriptures on the in preparation for Shabbat, kind of get your mind on the things of Yahuwah, get your mind on the things of the Most High. By getting into His Word is one of the best ways to do that. So on prep day, this is the time. Like I said before in the past, just to reiterate, this is the time to be preparing for Shabbat. It's on Yom Shishi, or prep day. This is the time to get your clothes right that you're going to wear. Don't wait till Shabbat to try to figure out what you're going to wear, okay? I'm talking to myself as well. Use your prep day to go ahead and get what you're going to wear on Shabbat, for Shabbat, already ironed out, laid out, to go ahead and get everything that you need as far as food, prepared on prep day. It's a great practice, an ancient practice, ancient custom that our people have moved in, and it's a through practice to continue from a memorial perspective, because that way when you go in on Shabbat, all you focusing on is just functioning in Yahuwah and Yahusha. You ain't, all the other stuff is done. It was already taken care of the day before. So the idea is to primarily be fully devoted, as far as mindset and focus, to Yahuwah and Yahusha on Shabbat, and not kind of have the things of the world that you're dealing with in the world to carry over in the Shabbat. Try to prep your heart, your mind, ruachly too. Anything you got going on during the week, issues at work, issues with, hopefully not, but even if that's the case, any kind of issues with the mishpach or anything like that, most high forbid on that. But, the best thing to do is that's the time to get it resolved before you go into Shabbat. Prep day is a time, make sure, you got any odds with your brother, man, and go and get it resolved. Go and get it resolved, you know what I'm saying? So, Yahuwah is to be praised, y'all. Yahuwah is to be praised. So what we're going to continue in today is Ezekiel, Yechezq'El. We're in part 10 of of what this is the 10th. This is the 10th, I guess, edition, or whatever you want to call it, because we're covering multiple chapters every time. And it's been powerful. It's been a lot that's came out. Been a lot that's been brought forward. So it's been very powerful. And so we're going to continue that. But Cody Selah, shalom, shalom. Shahanda Johnson, shalom Barakot. Shalom Barakot, Yahuwah's child and Yahusha's followers. Shalom, shalom. Natanya Smith, shalom and blessings. Shalom and blessings. Kenrick Lamarck Richardson, shalom Maki. Shalom, shalom. Shishi, shalom. I like that. Shishi, shalom. Let's see. Shamar and Shakar, shalom, y'all. Shalom. Yuri L, shalom. Shalom Barakot. Shalom Barakot. Ima Yasha, shalom. Shalom Barakot. Shalom, honors. So we're going to go ahead and get it in. But let's go ahead and get to chapter 24. All right. Chapter 24, Ezekiel. Says again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, the word of Yahuwah came to me. So this is important, because this is giving you a date stamp. This is giving you a very significant date stamp, a time stamp, I should say, of when a very significant event took place. A very significant event took place. So this is the 9th year that Ezekiel has been in the captivity. And so he's 9 years in. So right now, at this point in time, man, Ezekiel is he's been in captivity for a long time. He's seasoned. He's pretty much acquainted with Babylon now. He's been there, and he's being led by Yahuwah to do Yahuwah's will, to bring out the word. By this time he's probably very popular now, because again he's put on multiple performances. Yahuwah has had him put on multiple performances in creative ways to bring out Yahuwah's message, to bring out his word. I've been talking about this since we started Ezekiel, that during this time, so the controversial aspect of Ezekiel is that during the time that Yahuwah had Ezekiel bring out all these different messages and words, there was an opposite message coming from false teachers and false prophets who were saying it was from Yahuwah, but it wasn't. That's what I want. I want y'all to understand. That's very, very significant. It was a war of words that was going on during this time. Yahuwah is basically saying he's not pleased with Jerusalem. He's not pleased with Israel, and he's giving all these reasons, and that judgment is coming on the nation because of this. But while Yahuwah was saying this through Ezekiel, and also at the same time he was saying this through Yirmiyahu. So if you read the book of Yirmiyahu, Yirmiyahu is a contemporary of Ezekiel. They were both prophesying at the same time. Ezekiel was in captivity, exiled in Babylon, while Yirmiyahu was still in Jerusalem, because there were 3 waves of Babylonian exile. 3 waves. I want to reiterate that almost every time if I need to, just to understand the context of Ezekiel. Jerusalem was not destroyed at this time. Well, technically, all throughout Ezekiel, as we've been reading it, Jerusalem was still there. The temple was still there. They were part of the second wave of the exile. The first and second wave of the exile of Babylon. Babylon did not utterly destroy Israel yet, or Jerusalem yet. Jerusalem was still there. They still had a king that was on the throne of David, that was a puppet of Nebuchadnezzar. They still were moving forward with the temple services, the priesthood, the priests, all that. So there was this hope for those that were exiled that they will be able to get back over there, that Yahuwah will deliver them from the Babylonians, and that they will be able to return. And what's happening is now then you had these knowing this, you had these teachers or prophets, false prophets, coming and tapping into that and giving this false hope, saying, yeah, Most High said, man, he's going to deliver us from the Babylonians, and we're going to all return. We're going to all return to Jerusalem. But this whole time, in secret, these priests were steeped in idolatry, were steeped in iniquities, were steeped in sin and wickedness to the highest level, to the highest degree. And because of that, Yahuwah was not pleased with Jerusalem. He was not pleased with the Yahudim. And so therefore he was going to further the judgment. Now, if Israel, I do believe if Israel would have repented after the first and second wave, if they would have repented, the Most High may have relented or may have allowed them to be delivered from the Babylonians and be restored. But it was just far from that, y'all. It was so much stuff going on. People were worshiping the sun. We're talking about in the temple. We're talking about priests. They were worshiping all these other allures. They were the people were. It was all kind of innocent bloodshed. We're going to talk about that today. It was blood on the hands of many of the people. You know, our people were killing each other. They were not unified. They were fighting each other. The kings were puppets. So Nebuchadnezzar, so they wasn't really, they were about Nebuchadnezzar in a sense before anything, because they were under his thumb and they didn't want him to topple them over. So if it meant Nebuchadnezzar's interest before Yahuwah's, in a sense, it was kind of on that road too. And so, you know, you can go on and on and on. We're not going to just go into everything. It's a lot. It's a lot, but Yahuwah was exposing all the sins of Israel to Ezekiel. And see, the common people didn't know all these. A lot of this stuff was done in secret. There were times when Yahuwah took Ezekiel and lifted him up like in a vision, so that he could see what was going on in the inner courts of the temple. He was showing Ezekiel everything. He was exposing what was going on. You see what I'm saying? Yahuwah was exposing what was going on. And so Ezekiel was able to come and then relay these messages over to the people, and it was in contrary to what there was a lot of false words that was. So you got the righteous word. It might not be the popular word. It might not be even with the majority word, but it was the righteous word. It was the word from Yahuwah against this false word. You see what I'm saying? And the false word was probably the majority. That's probably what, you know what I'm saying? You had Ezekiel and Yirmiyahu. There probably were maybe some others that were given the righteous word, but the majority, I submit to y'all, was given the false word. Who you going to roll with? Who you going to believe? Who you going to believe? Who would you have believed back then? That's something you want to ask yourself. Would you have got swept away because the false word was what you wanted to hear? Because that's what it was. It was a kind of an ear tickling message. Everything gonna be all right. Most High gonna deliver us from the Babylonians. Is would you be inclined to roll with the false word because it's what you wanted to hear, or would you have enough discernment to be able to see that Ezekiel was of Yahuwah, and even if it wasn't what you wanted to hear, even if it wasn't what you thought it was, even if things wasn't the way that you thought it was, the word wasn't what you figured would have been something the Most High would say, you knew the Most High is with him, you're going to roll with that. Which one would you have went with? You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of false words going on today in Yasharel. A lot of false words. You see, during the days of Ezekiel, the people weren't even keeping the commandments. They were profaning the Sabbaths. They wasn't keeping the Shabbat. Right now, you got false words going out right now that you don't got to keep Shabbat no more. I'm talking about in Israel. I ain't talking about the church. I'm talking about in Israel. Oh, man, you don't got to keep Shabbat, man. No, you don't got to do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to keep no feast days, man. You don't need to do all that. The law's done away with. I'm talking about in Israel. I'm not talking about the church. And a lot of people jumped on that in Israel because it was an ear-tickling message. Man, so I can still serve the Most High and I don't got to keep I don't got to keep his commandments. Yeah, because we not in the land, and all you know, they start coming up with all these excuses as why you don't have to keep the commandments. Man, yeah, because we not in the land, you know, and whoop. Let me ask you this. Ezekiel was in Babylon. Do you really think Ezekiel wasn't keeping the commandments? Do you think Ezekiel was profaning the law and profaning the Sabbath because he was in Babylon? That's just food for thought. I submit to y'all, not at all. Not at all. You know, the only times where we might have got a pass for not keeping the Shabbat is if the captivity was so stringent, was so tough, like chattel slavery, where the master wouldn't let you. But see, we know that in Babylon they let the people. We know in Babylon they weren't like that. In Babylon, they actually let the children of Israel, in a sense, worship the Most High, because in the days of Daniel, there was some things that came up. Wait, what was he doing? He was praying 3 times a day. He was praying during the prayer times. So you telling me Daniel, he was in Babylon. You telling me he wasn't keeping Shabbat? If he was praying during the prayer times, Arev and Boker, the midday prayer, Boker prayer, and Arev, evening prayer, which is during the times of the daily sacrifices. We can go there, but you can read in Daniel 7. He was talking about how he was praying during the times of during the day of the Arev oblation. That's the daily sacrifices. There was a sacrifice offered up every evening in Boker, or morning, every evening in Boker, Arev and Boker. And so it was a custom of our people to pray during that time as well, because the incense was offered up during that same time. Every Arev and Boker, the incense the priest would go into the holy place and he would offer up the incense on the altar of incense as well, while the daily sacrifices was being offered up on the altar of burnt offering outside in the outer courts. So that's just food for thought. That's something to think about, because this is why I'm bringing that up, because during the days of Ezekiel, there was this whole thing where they were profaning his Sabbaths. They were not keeping the commandments of Yahuwah, and I submit it was probably because there was a false word going out that you didn't have to do that. Why would you talking about even up to the priesthood? Why would they be profaning Yahuwah, the Most High Sabbath, Shabbats? Now, I know idolatry and those things like that, but There's nothing new under the sun. These are the same. We are we are the descendants of these people. What are ways that we can that they were probably profaning the Shabbat, profaning the commandments, and things like that? There was probably a false word going out that it wasn't that serious. You ain't really had to do all that no more, and that offended the Most High. How could the children of Israel think it was thub, think it was okay to worship other allures? There was a point where they were at the temple with their face, it said weeping for Tammuz. There was something in their mind where they thought it was okay. Something, it had to have been a false teaching, a false way. It was something to where they actually thought it was okay. And this is what I'm saying is, they thought it was okay because they didn't even think that they were in bad standing with Yahuwah. Even after doing all those things, they did not understand or believe that they were in bad standing with Yahuwah. It had to be a prophet to come and let them know that Yahuwah is not pleased with y'all. Yirmiyahu was his name. Yirmiyahu literally had to go before the kings. He had to go before the kings at that time. Can't remember their name. Maybe Zedekiah. He had to go before the kings of Israel at that time in Jerusalem and let them know, man, the Most High not pleased with y'all. What y'all doing is not through. No. They thought they was in good standing with Yahuwah. And it's the same thing, similar today. Y'all, this is in Israel. I'm not even going to get into the church right now. Because the church, that's another thing too, but we all know about that. But what about Israel? We got so many people. There's so many people amongst Israel who are steeped into idolatry, profaning the Sabbaths, not holding his commandments as holy, not guarding the commandments, moving in the ways of the other nations. And they really just had this mindset that they think that they through, and they think that they through. Blaspheming the Ruach. Blaspheming the Ruach HaKodesh, speaking against the things of Yahuwah, the things of the Ruach, praise and worship, speaking against things like that. Do y'all know that speaking against the things of Yahuwah, speaking against the Ruach, and saying that these things are evil, saying that these things are of Hasatan, that's a way to blaspheme the Ruach. Now, if you don't understand it, something, then, you can just say that. But, man, to try to jump and be like, oh, yeah, that's of Hasatan, and it's something that's of Yahuwah. That's what the Pharisees did to Yahusha. That's what they did to Yahusha. Yahusha was doing, he was doing a deliverance, man. They said that's of Beelzebub. There are literally people who will see or someone moving in deliverance to try to free someone from an unclean ruach, and literally the conclusion, oh man, that's Hasatan doing that. What? You just gotta be careful, man. You just gotta. And this is what was going on in Yechezq'El during the times of Ezekiel. It was no reverence for the things of the Most High. It was, we just gonna do what we want to do. Everybody doing what is right in their own eyes. And Yahuwah was not pleased with Yechezq'El. He wasn't, man. He wasn't. And so we're gonna read about this now. As Ezekiel brings out, as Yahuwah has Ezekiel to bring out this other message. All right. Again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, the word of Yahuwah came to me. So, This is in the 9th year, and this is in the 10th month. So this is during what we would call the dark season. So we know that the time of light is usually between the first, roughly between the first and 7 month, the first and the 7th biblical month. Well, let me say it this way: the time of light is usually between it is between month 1 and month 7 of the biblical Hebrew calendar. I think I worded that. That's the best way to word it. Let me say it again. The time of light is in between month 1 and month 7 of the biblical calendar. So month 1 of the biblical calendar would be around Abib, which is around late March, early April is usually when that starts. And this is when the feast days start. The biblical feast days in the Torah start during this time. So the feast days in the Torah, that's when Pesach comes right around, April. You know what I'm saying? It's the 14th day of the first month. So first month starts late March, early April, usually time frame. And then so you're going to get Pesach sometimes around April. And then you get unleavened bread. You get the Feast of First Fruits. You get Shavuot. It's usually in the summertime, and you go into the fall feast. Start in the 7th month, which is this when you get that's when you get Yom Teruah. You get Yom Kippur. You get Sukkot, etc. And so then after the 7th month. This is after I'm talking about the 7 feasts in the Torah. You go into what's called the dark season. It starts right after the last feast, which is Sukkot, and then you go into month 8, and now you're in the dark season. And then during that time, the reason why we call it the dark season is because that's when the dark starts to be longer than the daytime. So the dark is longer than the daytime. You get what I'm saying? It's a vernal equinox that takes place. I can't remember around what's exactly the date of the vernal equinox, but that's when the transition between the day season and the dark season. And so we're in the 10th year. This is like in the middle of the dark season on the 10th day. And so let me see something here. All right. So nevertheless, we'll keep going. So again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, write down the name of this other day, this very day. The king of Babylon started his siege against Jerusalem this very day. So that's interesting, because you see that Yahuwah marked the exact day when Babylon was sieged, y'all. I'm sorry, when Jerusalem was sieged by Babylon. That's a huge deal. You know why this is a big deal? Because there was still a lot of Israelites who didn't believe the word Yahuwah was speaking through Ezekiel. Ezekiel prophesied this. It was going to happen. But Israel was wanting to believe the ear ticklers, because that was what they wanted to hear. And it would cause them to reject. Many of them would probably reject Ezekiel because of that. It's interesting that this is on the 10th month, on the 10th day, because that number 10 is significant. It's a shar. The number 10 is about the commandments. That's why there were 10 commandments. The number 10 is about the commandments, and it's also about judgment for not keeping the commandments. So the number 10 is also about submission. The number 10 is about submission and obedience, because submission and obedience it surrounds around keeping the commandments. That's really True submission is one who keeps the commandments. That's really what it is. True submission, true humbleness, when the scriptures talk about someone being humble, it don't mean that they just quiet and shy. That's not the same thing. In the scriptures, humble really just is about them being submitted under Yahuwah and Yahusha, and so much so that they guard his commandments. That's why Moshe was looked at as one of the most humblest people on the earth, because he guarded the commandments of Yahuwah like no other. He was submitted to Yahuwah and Yahusha on a whole nother level. Moshe was not like it's not, man. There was a time when Moshe had beat up the dude, beat up the Egyptian for beating on an Israelite. There was times where Moshe went and he fought and drove out the people who were messing with the women at the well. I mean, so the way that we look at what humble is not 100% what the scriptures mean when they talk about someone being humble. When scriptures talk about be humble, do not be prideful, it's really about be submitted, keep the commandments, do not be rebellious. That's really what it boils down to. If you want to try to boil it down to the simplest form, is don't be rebellious. Keep his commandments. Submit. Yeah. That's what it boils. That's what being humble is. You can be super submitted and not be shy, not be quiet, not be, you know what I'm saying? And on the other end, you can be super quiet and shy and be full of pride and arrogance. Don't get it twisted. Yeah, for real. I know people even had came to me in the past, in times past, and be like, man, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, I appreciate you, man. You a humble ox. And I always appreciate that. I appreciate the kind that, I look at that as a compliment. But at the same time, I'm like, man, why you think I'm humble though when you don't really know me like that? You can't really make that. You don't have enough information to make that assessment. I think you just say you believe I'm humble because I'm generally an introvert. I'm quiet. I'm generally speaking, I'm pretty laid back and quiet, and that can be automatically taken as, oh man, that's a humble ox. And again, although I it's a thug thing to be humble, and I always appreciate that for real, but at the same time, I know that you can't make that assessment if you don't know my lifestyle like that, if you don't know, how I move as far as my submission to Yahuwah and Yahusha, and things like that. If you just met me, I'm talking about these are people. There were times where it was someone who I would just have met. You get what I'm saying? Now, it's different if these are people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis and you've known them for years. That's different. But I'm just saying, if somebody you just met, that's going to be hard for you to make an assessment like that. But nevertheless, because it's even like with some of the sisters, they'll marry somebody and be like, man, he's so humble. And so then you marry him and you find out he's extremely arrogant. He was just a quiet person. He was just an introvert. So he don't, he just keeps his feelings to himself. But them feelings are there. Full of pride, arrogance, rebellion, everything. He just do it in silence. Instead of being outright and calling you out your name, he moves in what do you call that, man? I can't think of it right now. Passive aggressive towards you. Instead of going in, calling you out your name, he just does it, but it does it in a passive aggressive way. You know what I'm saying? That's not humble. But anyway, nevertheless, Yahuwah to be praised. Let's keep going. So, with this being on the 10th month, on the 10th day, that is a sign. That is a sign that this is surrounding. That is a sign that this is surrounding because of Israel's transgression of the law. That's why the number 10, Yahuwah used it. I submit to y'all, that's why Yahuwah used the 10th month and the 10th day. That's why he used number 10, because it was about Yasharel going against the commandments, not being submitted, being prideful. So the number 10, the symbolism of the number 10 is a double-edged sword. There's a positive and a negative. The positive is when you're keeping the commandments, when you're submitted, when you're doing what you can see the number 10 in that instance. You know what I'm saying? But the negative side is when you're going against these things, when you're transgressing these things, when you're transgressing Yahuwah, you can see the number 10 in that instance as well. For example, during the days of Mitzrayim, in the captivity of Mitzrayim, there were 10 plagues. That was the number 10 used with that as well. There were 10 plagues on Mitzrayim. And we know that because it was the plagues, the number 10 in that instance, I submit, was because Pharaoh was prideful against Yahuwah. He did not submit to Yahuwah's words. He did not submit to the commandments. Instead, he went against them in pride and arrogance. And so there were 10 plagues that came upon them and all of Mitzrayim over that. All right. It's more to it than that, but as far as the number 10, but we'll just we'll leave it at that for right now. All right. Son of man, write down the name of the day, this very day. The king of Babylon started his siege against Jerusalem this very day. Man. That had to have been wild. 9 years in. He been prophesying since the first, I believe since, let me see. Go to chapter 1 real quick. Oh, that's going into how old he is. All right. All right, let's keep going. So, it says, son of man, write down the name of the day. This very day the king of Babylon started his siege against Jerusalem this very day, and utter a parable to the rebellious house, and say to them, thus says Adon Alua, put on a pot, set it on, and also pour water into it. Okay, so now he's pouring water to this pot. This is a parable. So you see that Yahuwah had Ezekiel speak in parables, just like Yahusha spoke in parables when he was on the Eretz. Put on a pot, set it on, and also pour water into it. Gather pieces of meat in it, every thube piece, the thigh and the shoulder. Fill it with choice cuts. Take the choice of the flock. Also pile fuel bones under it. Make it boil well, and let the cuts simmer in it. Therefore, thus says Adon Alua, woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is in it. So you can imagine, Ezekiel have this big old pot full of all these choice cuts, the shoulder and the thigh, which were sacrificial cuts. These were the cuts that were used in the sacrifices many times. And had it simmering, man, boiling water. And now he is screaming while he's cooking, woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is in it. So that word scum, it's about rust. It's about rust. Yahusha had said one time, he said, don't store up your treasures on the earth where rust and dust and things like that. Let's go there. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 6. Instead of me trying to paraphrase, because trying to memorize these words sometimes, it's just better to bring it out. All right. Verse 19. Matthew or Matthew chapter 6, verse 19. It says, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on the earths, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. So Yahushua was saying specifically, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on the arets, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in the Shamaim. Lay up for yourselves treasures in the Shamaim, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So now thinking about that, what Yahushua said right here, and going back to Ezekiel, Ezekiel uttered this parable. And this is what Yahuwah is saying. It says, therefore, thus says Adon Alua, woe to the bloody city. He might try to call me back. That's my son. Let me see something real quick. All right, y'all. Apologies, I had to answer that. Okay. So, nevertheless, it says, woe to the bloody city, what Yahuwah says, Adon Alua. Woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is in it. Now, that word scum, it can mean like rust. It can mean like, filth and things like that. We can look at the word real quick, but if you look at it, you'll see right here, the word scum is, here it goes, it's Chelah, H2457. And it's Chelah, and as you see, it comes from the word Chala. And as you see, it's rust, scum, you see right there. It's only used in a context in Ezekiel, this word, Hebrew word. It's only used, shown in Ezekiel 24 in this chapter. It's the only time you see this word. But if you look at the root word is Chala, which is H2456, and then that goes back to like to suffer, to be sick, to be diseased. And so, that's kind of rust, is like a diseased metal, a metal that's corrupted in a sense. You get what I'm saying? So with that being said, Yahushua, he said, don't store up your treasures on earth where rust corrupts. So I submit to y'all that this may have something to do with that, this judgment. Yahuwah said, woe to the bloody city. Now, this is something else I want to submit to. I want y'all to look at. So it says, therefore, that says, that's not Yahuwah, that's Adon or Adoni Alua. Adoni Alua. Could there be a difference between here or a distinction of when it says thus says Yahuwah and when it says thus says Adoni Alua? Isn't Yahusha Adon? So when it's Adoni Alua because it's L-O-R-D lowercase. If you're looking at the King James or New King James, the L-O-R-D is lowercase, so that's Adoni. When it's L-O-R-D all caps, that's Yahuwah. You see what I'm saying? Could this be Yahusha? Yeah, speaking in parables, just like Yahusha did when Yahusha came and was on the earth. So that's just something to think about as we're going through this, because there are times where it says thus says Yahuwah, and then there are times where it says thus says Adon Alua. Woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is in it, and whose scum is not gone from it. Bring it out piece by piece, on which no lot has fallen. And that's why I believe this may have something to do with what the children of Israel were into, that they were into the love of money. They were all about storing up their treasures on the earth. They were putting their hope in carnal things instead of in the things of the Shamayim. That was a big issue with their heart. Because remember, Yahushua said, where your treasure is, therefore there your heart will be also. When he was talking about that, man, when you store up your treasures in the Shamayim, rust don't get to that. But man, this pot was rusted. There was scum in this pot. So it's a sign that they were storing up treasures on the earth, putting their hope in carnal things, putting all their stock in carnal things. Because when you read in the book of Yirmiyahu, man, like King Zedekiah and them, they were very, at the time, man, they were very wealthy. They had a lot of money. There was a lot of issues with that going on. A lot of vanity and worldliness as far as possessions and things like that going on, especially in the royal house of Yehuda during this time. All right. Bring it out piece by piece, on which no lot has fallen. So lot, that's about when you cast the lots, the stone or pebbles, things like that. So it's about the casting of lots. Verse 7, for her blood is in her midst. She set it on top of a rock. She did not pour it on the ground to cover it with dust. So now you're seeing that there is, now it's talking about blood, the bloody city. It said, for her blood is in her midst. She set it on top of a rock. She did not pour it on the ground to cover it with dust. Man. That's why in the sacrifices you're supposed to pour the blood out. There's part you sprinkle the blood, but the rest you pour out on the ground. You're supposed to cover it. So the idea of uncovered blood, it may be associated with just innocent blood, just blood guiltiness. It's an uncovered blood. Because the blood cries out. The blood can cry out from the ground, and you'll see it here in verse 8, that it may raise up fury and take vengeance. Look, for her blood is in her midst, verse 7. For her blood is in her midst. She set it on top of a rock. She did not pour it on the ground to cover it with dust, that it, what is it? The blood may raise up fury and take vengeance. I have set her blood on top of a rock, that it may not be covered. So this is kind of supporting what I'm referring to, and you'll see this in Bereshit 4. Bereshit 4, this is about Cain and Abel. Most of y'all are familiar with this story. It says, now Adam knew Eve, his wife, or Chawah, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have acquired a man from Yahuwah. Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to Yahuwah. Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And Yahuwah respected Abel and his offering. Abel offered a lamb, firstborn of the flock and the fat. It was a sacrifice. Verse 5, but he did not respect Cain and his offering, and Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So Yahuwah said to Cain, why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? That's it. Why are you mad when all you have to do is do well, when all you have to do is do righteousness? Why are you angry at your brother? Verse 7, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you, but you should rule over it, have dominion over it. Verse 8, now Cain talked with Abel, his brother, And it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. Then Yahuwah said to Cain, where is Abel your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? Man. Cause that's shepherd language. That's shepherd language. Am I my brother's keeper? You know, we've heard this many of times. Most of us are familiar with the story. But as a keeper is like someone is like a keeper of the sheep. Am I my brother's keeper? So this is about turning on your brothers. This is about turning on your brothers. He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood. Listen, the voice of your brother's blood. His blood had a voice. His blood had a voice, Mishpaka. The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from where? From the ground. The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. And because of that, there was a curse put on Cain. Now, this is showing that blood can cry out. That blood has a voice. Go to Vayikra 17. Verse 11. Vayikra or Leviticus 17, verse 11. And it says, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, y'all. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that makes atonement for the soul. The life is in the blood. And during the days of Ezekiel, and we also see it established that the blood can cry out. The blood has a voice. It can cry out, especially when you're talking about innocent blood being spilled, especially if it's the blood of your own brother, your own brethren, that you have spilled your brethren's blood over jealousy, envy, unrighteously, unjustly. This is what was going on in Israel during the times of Ezekiel. People was killing each other, man, over jealousy, envy, hatred. They were trying to kill Yirmiyahu, y'all. This is how wicked it was in Israel. Remember, Yirmiyahu is a contemporary of Ezekiel. So we're talking about, when I'm talking about Yirmiyahu, we're talking about what's going on in Israel during the days of Ezekiel. Let's go. Let's look at some stuff, y'all. Let's look at Yirmiyahu. Let's look at what happened with Yirmiyahu. Let's go to chapter 11. Start with verse 18. It says, "Now Yahuwah gave me knowledge of it, and I know it, for you showed me their doings. But I was like a docile lamb brought to the slaughter, and I did not know that they had devised schemes against me." Now, these were the schemes. This is what they were saying, "Let us destroy the tree with its fruit, and let us cut him off from the land of the living, that his name may be remembered no more." This is what they was planning against Jeremiah, y'all. This is Jeremiah chapter 11. He was literally just, Yirmiyahu, the only thing he did wrong was, he didn't do anything wrong. The only thing he did was to bring out the word of Yahuwah, and they wanted to kill him for it. There were people plotting to kill him. We're not talking about people of the other nations. We're not talking about people of East Edom or something like that. No, we're talking about Yahudim, the people of Yehuda. Because Yirmiyahu's word was not what they wanted to hear. And so they wanted to kill him. Because see, Yahuwah, what was one of the things that Ezekiel, especially Yirmiyahu, was prophesying about? What was they saying? One of the things was about how the Most High was not going to was not accepting their offerings. So the Most High wasn't accepting them. The Most High was not pleased with them. So in a sense, it's like saying that Yahuwah is not accepting their offerings. Their feast days, their prayers, those things are not, Yahuwah is not accepting them. Yahuwah is not pleased with them. And so, because of that, but Yahuwah is pleased with Yirmiyahu. Yahuwah is pleased with Ezekiel, prophet Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah. And so now the people that Yahuwah is not pleased with, now they looking at Jeremiah with an evil eye, Yirmiyahu, and they plotting to kill him. Cain and Abel. So if they doing Yirmiyahu like that, they doing other people like that. We're just reading about Yirmiyahu going through it because, we're reading his record. But according to Ezekiel, man, it was a bloody city. They was killing innocent. It was innocent blood crying out to Yahuwah from them. Innocent blood crying out for vengeance. So they were killing their own people, y'all. And that's why Yahuwah was doing away with Jerusalem during this time period. He was going to allow Babylon to totally destroy it. Contrary to popular opinion at that time. I think this goes into the priest of Anathoth. Y'all look at this. Okay, here it goes. Jeremiah 11, verse 9. I believe this is it. It says, and Yahuwah said to me, a conspiracy has been found among the men of Judah and among the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They have turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers who refused to hear my words, and they have gone after other allures to serve them. The house of Israel and the house of Judah have broken my covenant which I made with their fathers. Okay, nah, that's all right. But what I was trying to find is there was a group of people, man. They were priests. They were called the priests of Anathoth, if I remember right. Oh, okay, here we go. Verse 21, therefore thus says Yahuwah concerning the men of Anathoth who seek your life, saying, do not prophesy in the name of Yahuwah, lest you die by our hand. Y'all, look at this. Like, they was for real. And so he put a judgment on them and said they were going to be judged for this. But yeah, that's still not what I was looking for. There was a specific passage where it talks about where the priest, it was the priests of Anathoth, I believe. It was the people of Anathoth who they made a covenant that they made like a promise with themselves. They were going to kill Yirmiyahu. They were serious. And so with all that being said, I'm just showing some real examples of what was going on during that time and why Yahuwah was going to destroy Jerusalem. Let's keep going. Ezekiel 24. Woe to the bloody city. That's why it was called a bloody city. I too will make the pyre great, or that's like the fire pit. I mean, not the fire pit. Fire pile, like a pile, maybe like wood, things like that to get the fire going. Verse 10: heap on the wood, kindle the fire, cook the meat well, mix in the spices, and let the cuts be burned up. Then set the pot empty on the coals, that it may become hot, and its bronze may burn, that its filthiness may be melted in it, that its scum may be consumed. She has grown weary with lies, and her great scum has not gone from her. Let her scum be in the fire. In your filthiness is lewdness, because I have cleansed you, and you are not cleansed. You will not be cleansed of your filthiness anymore. So now they're being sealed to these things, till I have caused my fury to rest upon you. I, Yahuwah, have spoken it. It shall come to pass, and I will do it. I will not hold back, nor will I spare, nor will I relent, according to your ways and according to your deeds. They will judge you, says Adon Alua. So yeah, when you look at the footnote, it'll let you know that in the Septuagint, in the Vulgate, it says I. Septuagint, the Syriac, the Targum, and the Vulgate reads I. So that's just something to keep in mind. What we're reading is coming from the Masoretic. When you read the King James, there are other manuscripts out there that you can compare, contrast to. The Septuagint is probably one of the best ones, in my opinion. But you also have the Targum, and I don't use the Latin Vulgate to compare to, but that is another manuscript. I believe that is from the Latin translated. The Septuagint is the Greek translated, and then you got the Targum is more of some commentaries, rabbinical in a sense. But nevertheless, let's keep going. It's verse 15. So, also the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, behold, I take away from you the desire of your eyes with one stroke. So he's talking about his wife, y'all. The wife is called the desire of his eyes. Man, that's so real. Because I think about my Isha, man. She definitely is the desire of my eyes. It's just pleasing to look upon my Isha. Blesses your soul. Looking upon your Isha. And especially in all kind of different ways. You see what I'm saying? It's the desire of your eyes, where you feel great delight in looking upon your Isha. And see, the Isha is covered in the public. You know, a Kodesh Isha is covered in the public, have a head covered, things like that. And so there are things that for a husband that his eyes are able to look upon when it comes to his Isha that no one else ideally is able to see. And so the Isha becomes a great desire of the eyes for the husband. You get what I'm saying? That's why Yahusha had that message where he said, even if someone looks upon a woman with lust, has already committed adultery in his heart. Because really, you're only supposed to look at your eyes is only supposed to be for a wife in that sense. You're only supposed to be looking at your wife. Your wife is really it's supposed to be the desire of your eyes, not just somebody walking down the street. I understand though, because I know that oh man, hopefully y'all can hear me. I understand though, because I know that in Babylon, modesty just ain't a thing like that. So you gotta really, when you're in your Kodesh, moving around in Babylon, you can just be in a grocery store and you might have to just be like this. Somebody walk by, you might just have to be like this. Because ain't no modesty going on right in Babylon. Like, just to keep from even letting it cross your mind to desire someone else in a lustful way with your eyes. You get what I'm saying? Because it's your wife who's supposed to be the desire of your eyes. It's your wife. So that's just an important side note. Even listen, y'all. I know this is gonna be this is a tough one. Even when you're watching the little movies and things like that, and you see the little movie star you think so pretty. I mean, that's okay to think someone pretty. I ain't saying nothing wrong with that. But it's just be careful not to look upon them with lustful eyes, because that can sear something in you, especially if you're married. Because those eyes should only be for your spouse, for your wife. Also, again, you can be committing adultery already in your heart, because if that person might be married. You get what I'm saying? That person that you're looking at in that movie, man, she might be married. A lot of times they do be married. So now you veering into committing adultery in your heart. You get what I'm saying? It's called covetousness. It's not a new Torah. When Yahusha said that wasn't a new law he came up with. That was in the Torah. It's called covetousness. It's actually in the 10 Commandments. You are not supposed to covet your neighbor's wife. When you look at what coveting means, one aspect of coveting is to look upon one with great desire. It's to look upon one with great desire. You know what I'm saying? So, that's just some important stuff to keep in mind, Mishpachim, because you see it here in the scriptures right here, that his wife, Yahuwah called, he said, son of man, behold, I take away from you the desire of your eyes. Man, y'all. He talking about his wife. I take away from you the desire of your eyes with one stroke. Yet you shall neither mourn nor weep, nor shall your tears run down. He was not allowed to mourn, to cry, to weep for this. And Yahuwah had him go through this as a sign to Yasharel. He had him go through this on purpose as a sign to Yasharel, y'all. Let's keep going. Sigh in silence. Make no mourning for the dead. Bind your turban or your mitri on your head and put your sandals on your feet. Do not cover your lips and do not eat man's bread of sorrow. So I spoke to the people in the Boca. And at Oreb at evening, my wife died. And the next Boca I did as I was commanded. So Ezekiel was submitted. He just lost his wife, the desire of his eyes. And he went and did everything Yahuwah told him to do anyway, which was not to mourn, not to cry, sigh in silence. Man, keep it moving. Put on your sandals, bind your turban on your head, and keep no mourning. Yeah, I can't help but to wonder, though, if it was an issue with his wife, though. If there was an issue there. I can't help but to wonder if because when you look at times past, man, like with Sodom and Gomorrah, his Isha, she looked back, she wasn't fully sold, she wasn't fully bought into the will of Yahuwah, and so Lot lost his wife. She turned into a pillar of salt. You got the other example with Job. Job's wife, man. Yeah, he lost his wife. But his wife wasn't really all the way bought in as far as with Yahuwah and Yahusha. She was even trying to convince Job to curse Yahuwah. She told him, "Why don't we covered Job?" That was during the Midrash last year, and she literally told Job, "Why don't you just curse Yahuwah?" And so she didn't make it. Most High cut her off, and Yahuwah eventually gave him a new wife. You know what I'm saying? I can't help but to wonder. It doesn't say specifically here. But for Yahuwah to take his wife like that, it does make you wonder if an aspect of it was that she just was not bought in with everything. That she might have been rebellious herself in a sense, or had some sort of issue in a sense where she wasn't really moving with Ezekiel herself. But nevertheless, we don't know. We don't know, because Yahuwah had just took her out just for the sign, and it was just no reason other than that. Man, Yahuwah will do whatever he want to do. He do whatever he want to do. But I can't help but to think about giving the other examples and the patterns that it may have been an issue there. You get what I'm saying? It may have been something there. Let's keep going. Let's see. All right. So I spoke to the people in the Boker, and that evening my wife died. And the next Boker I did as I was commanded. Yeah, so another aspect of this, let me say this as well. He also, Yahuwah also, he commanded Ezekiel. Ezekiel was not allowed to mourn her. So that's another thing that makes me believe it's a possibility there was an issue with her. Because when I saw a similar instance happen when Nadab and Abihu, which was Aharon's sons, died. When Yahuwah killed Nadab and Abihu, Aharon was not allowed to mourn. He was not allowed to do any of that. He had to keep it moving. So it's just some other things to think about. Let's keep going. So I spoke to the people in the Boker, and that evening my wife died. And the next Boker I did as I was commanded. And the people said to me, "Will you not tell us what these things signify to us, that you behave so?" Then I answered them, "The word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, speak to the house of Israel. Thus says Adon Alua. Behold, I will profane my sanctuary, your arrogant boast, the desire of your eyes, the delight of your soul, and your sons and daughters whom you left behind shall fall by the sword. Man. Thus says Adon Alua, behold, I will profane my sanctuary. Your arrogant boast, the desire of your eyes, the delight of your soul, and your sons and daughters whom you left behind shall fall by the sword. So this is the word that's coming out. Because remember, Ezekiel did all these things. He did the things Yahuwah told him to do, and now the people are asking him, yeah, hey, what's going on? Why are you doing these things? What do these things signify? All your people that are still in Israel, in Jerusalem, they're going to die by the sword. Like, they're going to die by the sword. Let's see what the boast is. Arrogant boast. Oh, that's Gaon. So that's really, yeah, that's not the best translation. So that's Gaon. That's the word for excellency. So probably the best way to put it is when he says your arrogant boast is more like your excellencies, like your the things of prestige, your royal house, the things that you had pride in, that you took pride in, regarding Yasharel, regarding Jerusalem, regarding Yehuda, your excellency, your nobility is the best way to put it. Your nobility, the desire of your eyes, the delight of your soul, and your sons and daughters whom you left behind shall fall by the sword. So we know what the desire of your eyes many times is regarding your wife. It can be also, we know that the bride is also Yasharel, so, but man, he's saying these things, the two things that you love so much about Jerusalem is going to be done with. Verse 22, and you shall do as I have done. It's Ezekiel telling them as a response. And you shall do as I have done. You shall not cover your lips, nor eat man's bread of sorrow. So what this is showing is that there were probably a lot of people who still had family members in Jerusalem who were exiled. There were probably a lot of people who had wives. They might have got separated, but their wives were still in Jerusalem. They have sons and daughters still in Jerusalem, but they were separated in Babylon in exile. So this hope was a huge hope. Some of these people, man, they was hoping that Yahuwah would deliver them from the Babylonians so they can get out of this exile and go back to some of them, their children. Some of them, their spouses are still in Jerusalem while they are in Babylon in exile and captivity. So, this isn't a light thing. This was a strong desire. And so as a sign, man, it's deep. Yahuwah had Ezekiel's wife to just suddenly be gone in an instance. He said, in one swipe, in one, in one swoop. Let's see here. In one stroke, that's what it was. In one stroke, I'm going to take away the desire of your eyes. Yeah. Son of man, I will take from you the desire of your eyes with one stroke. It's just like that. She's going to be gone. And so they seen this. And they're like, man, what does this mean? And so he's basically saying, yeah, y'all wives that are out there still in Jerusalem, y'all sons and daughters, they're going to be cut down by the sword, and you're going to do as I do. He says, and you shall do as I have done. You shall not cover your lips, nor eat man's bread of sorrow. Now, this is deep because remember, the wives and all them out there, they're out there in Israel that's full of iniquity and sin and things like that. Verse 23. So that may be my point by bringing that up is that it may also support a little bit that it may have been something there with his Isha as well. But man, look, the Most High also said through Ezekiel in the previous chapters that he was going to cut down the righteous with the wicked this time. So, man, look, she might have not have done nothing. It might have been through. And Yahuwah did it as a sign. We don't know, because he did say, I believe it's in Ezekiel 22, it was on one of the previous chapters, that he was going to cut down the righteous with the wicked. We talked about that last week. Very deep, y'all. Very deep. Verse 23, it says, your turbans or your mitres shall be on your heads, and your sandals on your feet. You shall neither mourn nor weep, but you shall pine away in your iniquities and mourn with one another. Man. Thus Ezekiel is a sign to you. According to all that he has done, you shall do. And when this comes, you shall know that I am Adon Alua. So this is a prophecy. Like, these are the things you're going to be doing. You're going to be pining away in your iniquities. You're going to be so deep in sadness that you're not going to mourn when these people are cut down by your people are get cut down by the sword in Jerusalem. Verse 25, and you, son of man, will it not be in the day when I take from them their stronghold, their joy and their kabod, the desire of their eyes, and that on which they set their minds, their sons and daughters. So this is showing that their minds were set strongly. They were focused on those that they had left behind, y'all, in Jerusalem due to this exile. Y'all think about it. Y'all think about how it was in this captivity and the things that we had went through here when we were first pulled over and exiled into the Americas. A lot of us left behind wives, children, people's families were split up like it wasn't nothing. So this is highlighting that something similar was taking place here. The families were separated. People had sons left, daughters left, wives, and everything. And so their minds were set on getting back. And Yahuwah's letting them know that ain't happening. Not right now. That not only is it not happening, but they're gonna be cut down with the sword. They're gonna lose their lives from the nations. The nations are gonna cut them down. Verse 26, that on that day one who escapes will come to you to let you hear it with your ears. On that day your mouth will be open to him who has escaped. You shall speak and no longer be mute. Thus you will be a sign to them, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. So part of the prophecy is that there's going to be one who escaped from this slaughter, who is going to make it down to tell you what happened. And this is going to confirm that this thing it has happened. This thing is going to happen. That there will be witnesses who've seen these things happen, who will come and escape from the sword of the Babylonians, who will come and tell you. He said, on that day your mouth will be open to him who has escaped. You shall speak and no longer be mute. Man. And so I was wondering what it meant by you shall speak and no longer be mute. I think what this means, there was a passage where Ezekiel was commanded it was in the beginning where he wasn't allowed to really speak, only speak the words of Yahuwah, I believe. I'm going to find it real quick. I believe it's in chapter 1. Maybe chapter 1 or chapter 2. It's somewhere early in the book. Maybe it's Ezekiel 2, let me see. Okay, I found it. Chapter 3. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 26. So this is probably what that was referring to in chapter 24. He says, I will make your tongue cling to the roof of your mouth, so that you shall be mute, and not be one to rebuke them, for they are a rebellious house. But when I speak with you, I will open your mouth, and you shall say to them, thus says Adon Alua, he who hears, let him hear, and he who refuses, let him refuse, for they are a rebellious house. So basically, that's basically what I took from that is that Yahuwah made Ezekiel to where he was basically couldn't speak to he couldn't speak unless he was prophesying, basically. Like he couldn't speak unless he was prophesying. He was only able to speak when Yahuwah was speaking through him, in a sense. So yeah, that's just something to think about. But it says, on that day your mouth will be open to him who has escaped. You shall speak and no longer be mute. Wow. So once the people, so he was basically mute until Babylon destroyed Jerusalem, destroyed Yehuda. And then once the person comes who escapes, then the Most High was going to make it to where he was no longer mute. And he said, thus you will be assigned to them, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Wow. This is deep, y'all. This is deep. All right. The word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against the Ammonites. So now Yahuwah has Ezekiel to declare against other nations. A lot of times what we're going to see here is the other nations, they were judged based off how they were treating Yechezq'El, based on how they were handling Yahuwah's people. So yeah, Yahuwah was angry with Yehuda, was angry with Jerusalem. And so he is administering judgment and executing judgment on them. And now they're getting sacked. I mean, taken down, cut down by the sword of the Babylonians. Destroyed. But he is not giving the other. That don't mean the other nations get a free pass to celebrate that or to be okay with that. Because now the judgment's coming to y'all too. You see what I'm saying? And so this is what we see something interesting here. It says, thus, now after that, in verse 24, now Yahuwah is saying, now the word of Yahuwah came to Ezekiel saying, Son of man, set your face against the Ammonites and prophesy against them. Say to the Ammonites, hear the word of Adon Alua. Thus says Adon Alua, because you said, aha, against my sanctuary when it was profaned, and against the land of Yisrael when it was desolate, and against the house of Yehuda when they went into captivity. Indeed, therefore, I will deliver you as a possession to the men of the east. Now, who are the men of the east? I submit they probably talking about Babylon. Remember, Babylon was far east, man. Babylon was far, far east in the Tigris and Euphrates River. So basically, he's saying, y'all gonna get it too, because y'all basically the way that y'all handled my people was not through. So he said, indeed, therefore I will deliver you as a possession to the men of the east, and they shall set their encampments among you and make their dwellings among you. They shall eat your fruit and they shall drink your milk. Man, so they're going to basically colonize your land. They're going to take your food. They're going to, that's going to be the judgment for the Ammonites. And I will make Rabbah a stable for camels and Ammon a resting place for flocks. Then you shall know that I am Yahuwah. For thus says Adon Alua, because you clapped your hands, stomped your feet, and rejoiced in heart with all your disdain for the land of Yisrael. Indeed, therefore, I will stretch out my hand against you. I'm telling y'all, when it comes to the other nations, Yahuwah would judge them based on how they was treating his people. Oh, man, you were clapping your hands, stomping your feet, celebrating the downfall of my people? Okay. Because of that, now I'm coming against you. Like, this stuff is real. Like, they didn't have a free pass to oppress Israel just because Israel was getting destroyed. So he said, indeed, therefore I will stretch out my hand against you and give you as plunder to the nations. I will cut you off from the peoples. And look at this. I will cause you to perish from the countries. I will destroy you, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. So when it comes to Ammon, that's why you don't really like who are the Ammonites? You know, that could have been associated with this prophecy. The Most High caused them to perish as a nation, to perish as a people, man. They were cut down. They were scattered probably amongst the nations. And so what happened, see, this is the thing we don't realize is being scattered throughout the nations, you're done. Usually. It takes a miracle for that to ever be undone. You scattered amongst the nations, that means you basically become nothing. You're like not a nation anymore. You basically get dissolved into the sea of peoples that you're scattered throughout, and you just no longer a nation. It's probably what happened to Ammon. For anyone that was left, they scattered so much they just not recognized as anybody anymore. Thus says Adon Alua, because Moab and Seir say, look, the house of Judah is like all the nations. Therefore, behold, I will clear the territory of Moab of cities, of the cities on its frontier, the kabod of the country, Bet Jeshimot, Baal Meon, and Kirjathaim, I don't even know, Kirjathaim. To the men of the east, I will give it as a possession, together with the Ammonites, that the Ammonites may not be remembered among the nations. There you go. That was a prophecy against Israel at one point in time. So that the members, that the nations actually, that wasn't a prophecy against Israel. Let me restate that in Psalms chapter 2, I believe. The nations were conspiring against Israel, and they were wanting to make it to where Israel was not remembered amongst the nations anymore. That their remembrance would be no more. And you know who said that? The very nations Yahuwah is proclaiming a judgment against right there. Ammon, Moab, Edom. So let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at this. Psalms chapter 2. It says verse 1, why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? So these are the people plotting, man. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahuwah and against his anointed, against his hidden ones, I believe it says in one translation, against his anointed ones, his set apart ones. Verse 3, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. Adonai shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. So it's interesting. It may be what Ezekiel is a fulfillment of this part of the prophecy, of this word. Because look what they said. Yet I have set my king Not yet. Hold on. Let's read this. Yet I have set my king on my Kodesh hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. Yahuwah has said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now therefore be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the Eretz. Serve Yahuwah with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. But blessed are those who put their trust in him. So that's not what I was thinking of. I believe I'm thinking about like Psalm 83 or something like that. Let's try Psalm 83. All right, here we go, y'all. My bad. Here we go. It's the right one. Do not keep silence, O Eluah. Do not hold your shalom, and do not be still, O Eluah. For behold, your enemies make a tumult. So your enemies are angry. They causing commotion. They make a tumult. And those who hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted together against your hidden ones. There it goes. Your sheltered ones, your hidden ones. That's what I was thinking of. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yisrael may be what? Remembered no more. That's the same judgment that Yahuwah had put against Edom through Ezekiel, and Moab and Ammon. For they have consulted together with one consent. They form a confederacy against you. Now look who it is. The tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites. And look who else. Moab and the Hagarites, Gebal, Ammon. These are the same nations, y'all. Moab, Ammon, Edom. These are the three of the nations that were spoken of in Ezekiel 25. That Yahuwah said with Ammon, he was going to make it to where they will be remembered no more. He was going to cut them off from being a nation. It's the same thing that they tried to do against us. Yahuwah was like, yeah, no, that ain't going to happen. Nah, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to do that to them. May their things they're plotting be up on their own head. That's what it is. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works. It's crazy. So keep reading. It says, Philistia with the inhabitants of Tyre. You'll see that when we go back to Ezekiel 25, the Philistines are mentioned as well. But, it says Assyria also has joined with them. They have helped the children of Lot, Selah. Deal with them as with Midian, as with Sisera, as with Jabin at the brook of Kishon, who perished at Endor, who became as refuse on the Eretz. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeeb. So that goes back to the excellency. Yes, are there princes like Zeba and Zalmunna, who said, let us take for ourselves the pastures of Eluah for a possession. O my Eluah, make them like the whirling dust, like the chaff before the wind, as the fire burns the woods, and as the flame sets the mountains on fire. So pursue them with your tempest, and frighten them with your storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek your name, O Yahuwah. Let them be confounded and dismayed forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know that you, whose name alone is Yahuwah, are the Most High over all the earth. And we need to say this prayer too. For the nations and the peoples who's been conspiring against the things that Yahuwah is doing today. And the things that Yahuwah is doing with Yasharel today. Let's go back. Ezekiel 25. We're almost done, y'all. Thus says Adon Eluah, I'm sorry. Because of what Edom did against the house of Yehuda, hold on. Let's read verse 10 again. To the men of the east I will give it as a possession together with the Ammonites, that the Ammonites may not be remembered among the nations. And I will execute judgments upon Moab, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Thus says Adon Eluah, because of what Edom did against the house of Judah, by taking vengeance, and has greatly offended by avenging itself on them. Therefore, thus says Adon Eluah, I will stretch out my hand against Edom, cut off man and beast from it, and make it desolate from Teman. Dedan shall fall by the sword. I will lay my vengeance on Edom by the hand of my people Yisrael, that they may do in Edom according to my anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, says Adon Alua. Now it's Philistia. That was mentioned in Psalm 83 as well. Thus says Adon Alua, because the Philistines dealt vengefully and took vengeance with a spiteful heart to destroy because of the old hatred. Therefore, thus says Adon Alua, I will stretch out my hand against the Philistines, and I will cut off the Kerethites and destroy the remnant of the sea coast. I will execute great vengeance on them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah when I lay my vengeance upon them. So yeah, that's it. It started off with Yahuwah having Ezekiel to prophesy against his people, against Israel, against Yehuda, and the wickedness that was going on in Yehuda. And Ezekiel had to proclaim these things and declare it. And these things were coming to pass. They were coming to pass quickly. Yahuwah had him do it in all kind of different various ways as far as bringing out this message. That were signs. He had to act out different ways, or even to the point to where he was used as a sign himself through his Isha dying. Yahuwah that killed his wife, y'all. As a sign to the rest of Yasharel that their wives who were left behind would be cut down by the sword, and that they were to do like Ezekiel and not to mourn. Then it transitioned into Yahuwah having Ezekiel or Yechezq'El to now declare against the nations, to declare against Edom, Esau, Ammon, Moab, Philistia, or the Philistines. That they would be possessed by the Babylonians, the people of the east, that they would be colonized by the people of the east, and that they would be cut down to the point, I believe that was Ammon and Edom, so that they will be not even remembered anymore as a nation, y'all. Because these were the same nations that had conspired against our people to try to make it to where we were not remembered anymore as a nation. Think about it, y'all. Who is the people? Let's look at today. Who are the people who tried to make it to where we were not remembered anymore as a people? Who was the people group who done that? There were many captivities that we had, but you didn't really see that until this captivity, the captivity in America, where our names were stripped from us. Our language, we were not allowed to speak our language. We're not allowed to write. We're not allowed to read. We were not allowed to do any of that. To the point, after a generation, we totally, like, the remembrance of who we were was no more after a couple of generations. That wasn't done on that level in any other captivity before that. You notice right here, we reading right here in the Babylonian captivity, they knew they was Yasharel. They knew they was Yehuda. There wasn't no attempts to take that from them. And so what does that mean? That means that judgment that was declared by Ezekiel can apply to this place. Let me see what y'all got. Benjamin Roseman, shalom. Kinda early. Total Rabbi, Nekama Yahoo, hallelujah. Yes, definitely smash the like button, subscribe and share, hallelujah. Cody Wansina, shalom. All praise to the Most High. I actually thought about you I think I thought about you when I was at Pesach. Cody, say, okay. Kimberly Lamar Richardson says, some may have feared retaliation from the Babylonians for serving the Most High amongst them. Absolutely. That's what I was Yeah, that's basically kind of what I was alluding to, you know. So yeah, absolutely. Karen Lamar Richardson said, Khan, I think the 10th day would have fell on the 3rd day of the 2nd week. Yom Shlishi. The 3rd day of the 2nd week. Okay. Yeah, so I think I get what you're saying. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. You're going by the So what you're referring to, I think you're thinking of it from the perspective of a lunar, what they call it, the lunar Sabbath. Do you do Shabbat based off the new moon? Is that where you getting that calculation from? I'm just curious. Just let me know. But I think that's why you said that, because I could see the 10th day being on the 3rd day of the 2nd week in that instance, if you're going by the moon as far as calculating the Sabbath, the Shabbat. All right. Yahuwah's child and Yahusha's follower said, misconstrued, Khan. Oh yeah, Yahuwah's child and Yahusha's follower. I met you in person. That was I'm glad to see you on. It was a blessing to finally meet you in person on Pesach. Cody said I got it right. Passive aggressive. Yeah, man. Look here. Kimberly Lamar Richardson said, Khan, the number 10 is represented letter Yod. Oh, that's actually a through point. So that's a whole another aspect to it. Because, the Yod, with that being number 10, that goes, like the arm or the hand. And so think about this. So the Hebrew word for hand, think about this. The Hebrew word for hand is yad. It's the same thing. It's just pronounced a little different. It's yad instead of yod. It's yad. That's the Hebrew word for hand. So we know that the yod is symbolic of the hand or the arm, in a sense of power and action, work, things like that, right? Because we know when it comes to keeping the commandments, you have to do it. It has to be. That's why, according to Deuteronomy 6, the commandments have to be bound as a sign upon your hand. You get what I'm saying? It has to be bound as a sign upon your hand. Let it be as frontlets between your eyes. You see what I'm saying? So that's all related to the number 10. The Yod is what Kimberly Mark Richardson is saying. Very significant. The Yod has all Hebrew letters have a numerical value as well. So the Hebrew letters are also numbers. You get what I'm saying? So Yod is number 10, basically. It's the numerical value of 10, the Hebrew letter Yod. And if you look at the Yod, it's the symbolism. If you're doing a Hebrew breakdown and you got a Yod in a Hebrew word, the Yod has the connotation of a hand or an arm, meaning like power, action, work, different things like that it can mean. So I just want to make sure that's clear because it's a very important point. Adding on to what I was referring to surrounding number 10. That number 10 is about the commandments. It's about your being submitted, etc., etc. Now, if Yod is number 10 and Yod is related to your hand, you notice that when you have your hands have how many fingers? And that's if you don't have any defects and things like that. But in a perfect world, if you don't have any defects, typically, according to Yahuwah's design, let's say that. According to Yahuwah's design, you have 10 fingers on your hands. 10. The number 10 is associated with the hands. You see how that works? You can't make that stuff up, man. That stuff is powerful, y'all. That stuff is powerful. The Yod, the Hebrew word for hand is yad. Is yad. And according to Torah, you are supposed to bind the commandments on your hands. It says you shall bind them upon thy hands and let them be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them up on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. I believe that's Deuteronomy 6. Just for time, we ain't gonna go there, but it's in there. If y'all look it up, y'all, Deuteronomy 6. For time, I'm not gonna go there. but it's easy to look up if you haven't heard. It's a very popular scripture where it talks about the Torah and the commandments being written on as a sign upon your hands. Nevertheless, let's keep going. Benjamin Roseman said, "Isn't that something was commanded to do if they were on their time? Isn't that something was commanded to do? Oh, as far as for women, burying the blood. I don't know about that. Not that I don't know. I don't remember. I'll put it that way. I don't believe so, but it may be just I don't remember. I don't think so. No. Now the sacrifices were commanded that the blood would be, would have to be covered. You know what I'm saying, and things like that. But when a woman was at that time of the month, I believe that's what you're asking. I don't think there was specifics as far as what to do with that other than to be set apart during that time. You couldn't be at the temple. You couldn't be. You had to be set apart. This was your time of separation during that time. And you're not to, if you're married, you're not to, be with your husband as far as in the intimate set in that during that time. Let's see. Kimberly Lamar Richardson said, Benjamin Roseman, Leviticus 15 discusses the Torah law concerning bodily discharges. Most definitely. Let's see. But I don't know if it specifically says that you're supposed to cover the blood and like it does with the offerings. So yeah, I don't know. Have to look into that. Kimberly Lamar Richardson said Jeremiah 11:21-23. Mushal, let's see. Oh, wrong book. That's like Yeshayahu. Let's see, Yirmiyahu 11:21-23. Yeah, this was the same. I had read this as well earlier, but could have known it was another passage where where it shows when they were making that covenant. I thought, but might have been mistaken. Benjamin Roseman says, I'm not sure I remember Job's wife dying. Yeah, it don't record that Job's wife died, Benjamin Roseman. It don't record that. But she kind of fell out the picture after she did that, and then Yahuwah had gave him a new. I thought Yahuwah had gave him a new. I'm pretty sure Yahuwah gave him a new wife. So I guess you can say, okay, maybe he had multiple wives, but she kind of fell out the picture after she told him to curse Alua. She might have just left him. I mean, he was in a very down and out situation. And so her absence leads me to believe she either left or something might have happened with her or something like that for Yahuwah to restore him with a new wife at the end, and things like that. It leads me to really believe she left. They might have divorced something, especially, man, look, if you marry somebody who's not down with you like that, who you marry the wrong person, who was really with you for the wrong reasons, man, what you think gonna happen when you get down and out? Remember, Job was rich and wealthy. He might have, married. It sounds like he just married the wrong person. That'll happen when you're rich and wealthy. You have all kind of people flocking around you, and you can get, enamored by the beauty of a woman, and literally marry her when the only reason why she with you is because you're rich and wealthy, and she know what you can do for her. She love you. I mean, it ain't like that she don't love you, but it's shallow. She ain't gonna be with you if you lose all your money. She ain't gonna stick with you. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, you see it. I would even venture to say that probably the majority of the people you see today who are rich, their marriages don't be solid like that. Like their Ishas be with them because they are rich and wealthy. They will not stick with them if they lost all their money, y'all. Y'all gotta remember what happened to Job. He lost all his money. He lost everything. Calamity after calamity, calamity after calamity, to where he was just all the way down and out. And so, man, you got your wife was used to that lifestyle, and now all this happening, and she's saying that he should just die. So she's wishing he would die. She could be having thoughts of him just leaving the earth. Maybe that's why she told him to just die. So yeah, she probably left him. Probably divorced him and moved on. That added on to the sorrows of Job. Man, his wife just skipped on him, man. He thought she was down with him like that. And it comes. See, the thing about Job is that this is what happened. This is what I really think was a big factor with Job. A lot of stuff came to the light surrounding the people that he was surrounded with when he went through that. I think there were people who he thought was his friends that came out that they just wasn't real. They turned on him. There was jealousy and envy, all in the midst surrounding people that was supposed to be his friends. Secret hatred. And then his wife wasn't really down with him. So when you go through stuff, man, a lot of times true colors will start showing. And the people you thought was one thing, you're like, man, nah, it ain't what it is. So I just think that's one of those examples of that with Job. But Khan, you're right. It's not, the scriptures don't specify that she actually died. I'm just saying that, I guess my point I was trying to make is that there's something wasn't right with her. There's something wasn't right with her, and so she got taken out of the picture, I guess is the best way to put that. All right. Ima Yasha, she said, same thing I was thinking, Mushal, keeping it moving after the loss of his wife. Reminds me of Aharon not being allowed to mourn after his sons were consumed. Khan. That's real. Khan. Cody Selah said, Yahuwah saying that he will cut down the righteous with the wicked. Reminds me of 1 Peter 4:18. It says, now if the righteous one is scarcely saved, where will the ungodly and the sinner appear? Man, that's real. Just as Yahusha said, do as the Pharisees said and not what they do. They appeared to keep Torah, but did not fulfill the Ahava of Torah. Khan. That's real. That's real. Giving y'all glory says he was preparing him for war. Man, I think were you referring to when Ezekiel was muted, when Most High made it to where he couldn't speak? But yeah, I agree with you though. I agree with you in general. Kimberly Lamar Richardson said, Khan, that's what stuck out to me in verse 6. Bring it out piece by piece, that every man may be delivered to the enemy, to be either put to the sword or made a prisoner. Man. Yeah, that's deep, though. That's deep. Giving y'all glory said he was preparing his heart and ours for a lost in a time of war. Oh, I get it. Okay, man. Yeah, that's real. That's real. I can see that. All right. Kimberly Lamar Richardson said chapter 24 brings Paul's instructions to mind. 1 Corinthians 5:5. Deliver such an one in the Hasatan for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved in the day of Adon Yahusha. Man. Cody Selah said every time a nation is mentioned for being wicked, they have the pattern of coming against Yahuwah and his own people. Even till this day. That's real. Man, that's real though. That's real. Because see, in a sense, when you think about it, you're coming against Yahuwah's people. Is in a sense, you're coming against the Most High. Look, we are His body. We're the body of Yahusha. Especially when you're talking about His Kodesh people, we're His body, the bride of Yahusha. Come against us, it's as if you're coming against Him. You're coming against Him. And people don't realize that, man. People don't realize that. You coming against the things that Yahuwah is doing amongst the people just because you don't agree with it, just because you, yeah, that didn't sit right with my spirit, man. Look, hey, look, you can't trust your own self in that regard. You can't, because the heart can be desperately wicked. You've been sown in Babylon. You've been born and raised in Babylon. And you think that because it don't sit right in your spirit that it can't be from Yahuwah. Like you know Yahuwah that well. When all you've been immersed in is Babylon your whole life. That's called pride. When you think you can figure out Yahuwah to that point, that's called pride. And you can find yourself speaking against Yahuwah, coming against Yahuwah Himself. Because you are speaking against something in a negative way simply because you don't understand it. That don't sit right in my spirit. No, you just don't understand it. That's all you're saying. That's all that means. So the best thing to do is to be silent. Lest you offend Yahuwah by being presumptuous with your words against a thing that He's establishing on the Eretz, against a thing that our ancestors did. It's always best to be slow to speak, man. This man, look, man, this social media done did a number on us, y'all. It done gave everybody a voice. And if you're not slow to speak, you can find yourself moving presumptuously in a way that you just should not be. In a way that does not please Yahuwah. Be careful how you move on social media. Benjamin Roseman said, those nations we are rejoicing at Israel's destruction and were erased. Could the same happen if someone rejoices at the fall of Yahuwah's anointed? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's because that goes hand in hand. So no, that's a through question. That goes hand in hand. Actually, in Psalms chapter 2, that's what it's talking about. He's speaking against my anointed one. Which, we know that's a prophecy about Yahusha, of course, but I'll submit that I can also apply to His anointed people, the people of Yahusha as well. You get what I'm saying? Kendrick Lamarck Richardson said, are bricks the kings from the east this day? Ooh, you're going in. Man, look. That's very possible because, when you think about the bricks, they are the main ones. You're talking about Iran right now. Iran that's modern day Babylon. That's in modern day Babylon. Y'all look it up. Y'all look up where Babylon is at. Where ancient Babylon was in the area of Iraq and Iran. That's where it was. Look at where the Tigris and Euphrates River is. It's in the regions of Iraq and Iran, right over there. And so you see, they've been in the news a lot. Jeremiah 50 said, I will stir up the Medes against Babylon. I will stir up the Medes. Yeah, man. Kimberly Lamar Richardson said, I just counted 3 days from the first Shabbat of that month. Okay, I understand that. I believe. But I'm just thinking about how do you know when the first Shabbat of that month is that far back? You talking about, I think that's maybe like around 600 something BC. So that's what I was just curious surrounding because that takes some serious calculations to determine what day was Shabbat back then. Unless you hold the view that the new moon is a Shabbat, and that's a whole nother thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just curious. No biggie. All right. Let's see. Ama Anyan Amyuna Yahu Shalom. Shalom and honors. All right. Benjamin Roseman said, I asked that partially because Yasharel was being described in a feminine sense in that verse. Okay. Understood. When Yahusha said to place your treasure in heaven and not on earth, what physically does he want us to do? I understand not putting all your faith in riches. That's a great question. But you can't take care of yourself broke, and majority of people cannot hear Yahuwah. Will Yahuwah be fine with someone working the Sabbath if they needed more funds and that seemed the only option? Okay. So as far as your question about when Yahusha said to place your treasure in heaven and not on earth. So I talk about that a lot. So the way to store up your treasures in heaven is by doing Yahuwah's will. So one way is through obedience, okay? Through emunah, through faith. Faith is an action word, emunah. And what I mean that is by moving in faith when Yahuwah gives you a word in submission and obedience, okay? Obedience is better than sacrifice. So a sacrifice is like it's an offering, it's a payment. You get what I'm saying? It's a payment. It's a storing up. It's a way to get points in the Shamayim. I guess I'm just trying to look at a through way to word it. So that's one way though. Utter obedience. I mean, just utter submission and obedience with no questions. In emunah, in ruach and in truth. Another aspect is instead of storing up your treasures on earth, so that's your literal money, just doing a whole bunch of maybe stocks and bonds and doing a bunch of savings and IRA and all that. That's fine to do that too. But how much are you investing into Yahuwah's people, into the kingdom? Do you tithe? That's another way to store up treasures in the Shamayim is through the practice of tithes and offerings. Yes, it's just real. It's just real. Given to those, covering the orphans, the widows, being there when you can for the fatherless, being there when you can for the single mothers. I talked about that last week of how that is kind of in a way, maybe not all single mothers, but a lot of them are in a sense like widows and could probably be close to under that same category if we look at it from the perspective of an ancient Israelite, because they are uncovered. They don't have a covering. And so therefore they're normally exploited and exposed to a lot of to being oppressed in a lot of ways, and things like that. And so doing what you like these are the things that store up points in heaven. That's a way to store up your treasures in heaven. Righteous acts, sacrificial acts towards Yahuwah and Yahusha as far as when it comes to obedience. So that segues into what you're talking about surrounding the Shabbat. You're not supposed to work on the Shabbat. I'm very confident because I've seen it happen in our tribe with everybody. At first, when we first started, there were all kind of people that were working on the Shabbat, struggling, trying to figure out how to keep Shabbat, or their job was making them work on Shabbat and things like that. We had several people, and now 7 years later, 6 years later, there's nobody. There's nobody who has to work on the Shabbat. Not one person, y'all. And so how do we go to having all these different people who had to do that to not one person now? Immunah, these people, they had a strong desire to not have to work on Shabbat, so they were in prayer about it. They seeked Yahuwah about it. They I believe, if I remember right, there was some that even fasted for it, but I can't remember, maybe not. But it was just having that desire and praying for it, and their prayers were aligning with the Shamayim, because Yahuwah didn't want them, don't want that, don't desire for you to work on the Shabbat. And so, let's say, for example, you had a job and they're making you work for making you work on Shabbat. You come into the truth, and now you know that you're not supposed to be working on Shabbat, so now you want to change. Well, if the way to move an immunah on that is, number one, pray on it. Ask Yahuwah to please open up a door that you can work, that you don't have to work on Shabbat anymore. But the immunah part is then after you pray, and then you start moving in it. Now you maybe that job, maybe see if start seeking them and letting them know you're really not trying to work on Shabbat. Can they open up? Can they open up a door to where you don't have to work on Shabbat anymore? Maybe there's a shift change where you can do to where you don't have to work on Shabbat no more. Maybe there's or maybe it just means the Most High has a better job for you. It's time to look around. You see what I'm saying? And while you're in prayer, while you're seeking Yahuwah, you're moving in obedience, you're being submitted, watch how Yahuwah opens up doors for you to where, oh snap, now this new job that came up, man, they trying to hire me, and it's Monday through Shishi, Yom Shani through Yom Shishi, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I don't got to work on Shabbat no more. We saw this happen, y'all. We saw this happen numerous time after time after time after time. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just about really pushing it. That'll be my answer on that. Let's see. Let me say this too. I'm going to say this. Now, what I say, oh, no, man, you just need to quit your job. That's between you and Yahuwah as far as that part. I'm not going to say that because that may not be what you're supposed to do. You may just supposed to push your boss, talk to the management and Yahuwah got to set up to where, they'll open up a door for you. Or maybe somewhere Yahuwah's got another job for you, things like that. But there may be an instance in some certain circumstances where the Most High just wants you to leave and trust Him. Again, I ain't finna tell you to do that. That's primarily between them, you and the Most High with that. I would always just encourage you to just move on immunah, trust the Most High, and pursue it. And usually He's gonna open up that door for you. All right, y'all. All praise to the Most High. That was powerful, y'all. I gotta go and take these boys over here down the street. But if y'all have any questions, y'all can always email me. rebirthatx@gmail.com or info. I forgot the other one. Let's see here. Info at, what is it? info@rebirthatx.org. Yeah. info@rebirthatx.org. Yeah. Marlon McCray said, Natanya Smith said, I'm blessed now to choose and make my schedule. Hallelujah. Man, praise Yahushua. There go witness right there. Marlon McCrae said, I tithe by volunteering and giving to those less fortunate than myself. You are not supposed to tithe outside to the temple in Jerusalem and to the true tribe of Levi. It is against hey Marla McCrae, I get what you're saying. I actually used to believe that too. But I do disagree with you, but it's okay. Definitely I know exactly why you believe that. I do. I held that view for years, so I ain't mad at you. I understand. But it's more to it than that. It's a lot more to it than that. And I actually did some if you care to dive deeper or to look more into that, there are some teachings I did on the topic when Most High first gave me the revelation that no, it ain't, man. Look, if Yahuwah put you with a ministry, you should tithe. If Yahuwah connected you to one of his assemblies, to his body, you should definitely push to tithe. See, the thing is, if you're a part of one of Yahuwah's assemblies, you know what they're doing? They're doing stuff for the less fortunate. They're doing stuff for the fatherless. They're doing stuff for the widow. They're doing all that. Any Kodesh assembly of the Most High, that's what they're doing. And so and only the way that they're able to do that, a big part of it is through you doing that, through you tithing. If they're a part of Yahuwah's body, when you tithe, you're storing, that's going to the kingdom. That's going towards the kingdom. We're talking about Yahuwah's assembly, Yahusha's people, his assemblies. Now, we're not talking about just any ministry, any church or anything like that. I know the churches took that and ran with it and went a whole. And that's why the reason why I had the view you had is because of the way the churches, at least the churches I grew up in, the way that they had abused it, they abused it so badly. I honestly just had a little bit of I just didn't have a through view surrounding it because of the experiences in the past being in the churches I was in, and how they taking the tithes and now they got helicopters and Bentleys and stuff, and it's really a lot of luxury and a lot of things like that. But no, it's a principle that I'll just say this last thing. I did a whole thing on this. Tithing is a principle that was going on way before the Levitical priesthood. That was going on since day one. It's something that Yahuwah put in the earth. It's a concept that Yahuwah has set in the earth. You saw it all throughout the scriptures before Levi, and even after even after the temple was destroyed is what I'll say, when Levi was unable to function as Levi. You saw that principle still being practiced. So, but all praises to Yahuwah and Yahusha. Let me see. You know what I'm gonna do? Let me just before I leave, let me share this one with you in the chat. I remember that, man. That was like 2021. Let's see. But either way, giving to the less fortunate is through, Marla. You do want to, I'll say this too, you do want to be careful, because I know sometimes we think giving to the less fortunate, okay, we need to give to the the people on the street who's at the corner, and we just give to them, and we're giving to the less fortunate. I would just say to just got to be careful with that. Do however Yahuwah lead. It's nothing wrong per se with. There's gonna be times where maybe Yahuwah might want you to do that certain times, but you just got to be careful with that. because you don't when you don't know them people, you don't know a lot of them, and you might know some of them, but I'm saying some of them might. What if they're wicked? What if they're pedophiles? What if they're murderers? You know, some of these people are extremely wicked. That be on the side of the roads asking for money, and so you giving tithes to them, and is that thub in the Most High sight? It's just something to think about. You get what I'm saying? They're gonna take that money. They're gonna go, to the drug man later on that night. It's a balance, and it's just something to be careful about. I'm not saying to do it or to not to do it. What I'm saying is to just be careful and be prayerful, and because again, that goes. In the churches I grew up, I'm going back to some experiences where they would just go and just pour into everybody who was on the street, give them all the stuff, and they thought they were doing what the scriptures talk about, but really, the scriptures is really talking about our people. There's a lot who are in need amongst Yechezq'El who hold to the covenant, who keep the commandments, who serve Yahuwah, who are in need, who have needs, man. Single mothers, they may be widowed, and they may have lost their husband. They may have, they may be fatherless. Young people who actually serve Yahuwah, who are of Yechezq'El. That definitely should take precedent or priority over anything else. Because when you read the context of the scriptures, when it talks about giving to the needy, that's what they're talking about. You see what I'm saying? That's what they're talking about. Even in the Brit Hadashah, there was a scripture, I believe in the book of Acts, where they were setting people apart to take care and to be there to give to the needy, and they were talking about the fatherless and widows amongst their assemblies, or amongst their people. So anyway, I just say all that to say, all praises to the Most High. And here is one of the ones that one of the ones a while ago surrounding that topic, surrounding the tithe, the asar offering. We're looking at what it means Hebraically. It surrounds all around the number 10 too. It goes back to the number 10. Obedience, submission, y'all. The tithe literally is asar. It's literally the Hebrew word for tithe is a tenth, the number 10, asar. So it goes back to that again: obedience, submission, etc., etc. Your actions, your hand, your yod, which is number 10, as King Lamarck Richardson brought out. It's a whole lot that goes with that. Love y'all. All praise to the Most High. If y'all have any questions or anything else, just email me. rebirthatx@gmail.com. Shalom, shalom. Much ahava.
Vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me. Vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me. Vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me. Vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, spoken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne. Golden vessels, broken before me, vessels of gold, ready to ascend to my throne.